Foul is Fair, Chapter 33, Inspiration. That's one of your mom's albums? Yeah, have you heard it before? Kasha apparently has. Kasha was a grown woman obsessed with the local music scene before we were born. No, I've never seen it. Mom apparently spent the 90s into 5 kinds of folk music. That's when she added the ukulele to the collection. Figures. Well, I'm all for not being the last one to know what my mom used to sound like. Do you mind? Since no one minded, Megan put the CD in, but skipped the first track. She hadn't heard the rest, but was pretty sure, from the titles, none of the others had much to do with describing pregnancy complications in way too much detail. The next song started out a lot differently. Instead of brooding heavy guitars in minor key behind the off-kilter poetry, this one opened into a walking bass line. It was like something out of the blues, providing a structure everything else was built on as the drums kicked in, then the lead guitar. The lyrics started out almost spoken word, her mother's voice coming across as intense, but steady and controlled. Megan glanced back at the CD. The second track was Good Fences Make Me Crazy. As she did, the refrain hit and the song went into full-voiced rock, except for that bass line. Nice and steady. A good fence for all the rock craziness and suddenly melodic screaming. When the song finally wound to a close, Lonnie was just staring at the speakers. Wow, your mother had some kind of voice. That was amazing. What's next? Megan glanced at the case again. Next one, Monster Piece Theater. She took the words slow, enunciating each as they were written. Yet again, everything shifted. The instrumentals weaved in and out as her mother sang about the late 90s international events. Megan didn't follow all of the references, and some of the lyrics may not have been intended as entirely literal. Regardless, no one was in any hurry to stop the music, and Megan felt she was meeting whole new sides of her mother with each song. It got even more personal when she first heard her mother and father interacting. The next song was Psych Ward Composition, with her mother singing the lead. While she sang, the bass was steady, just picking up bit by bit as the song went on. Then, her father took every other verse, providing the rich, dark voices in the head of the fictive I of the song, or perhaps not so fictive. He remained smooth, sounding entirely reasonable despite increasingly erratic suggestions, while the lead's vocals and the accompanying bass line became more and more strained. Only Aisling seemed unperturbed by the song, just swaying and occasionally dancing along to the tune, especially Riacard's parts. Now, both Megan and Lonnie were staring at the speakers, a bit wide-eyed. As the song wound down, they exchanged a glance. That was intense, Lanny offered, pausing the music. That might have been the creepiest duet ever, Megan agreed. They were really, really good. I think this song might be a little, lighter, though. What's this one? Megan showed her the back cover. Yet another song about jumping. That sounds promising, like something you can dance to, finally. Lonnie agreed, Aisling notwithstanding. She turned the music back on. The next song was more or less what it advertised. Amidst making fun of a lot of light, fluffy pop music in a tongue-in-cheek fashion, the song turned out to be not just danceable, but enthusiastically so. Halfway through the song, Megan grabbed for Justin's hand. He had been sitting quietly confused throughout the process of listening to what he had to simply trust was music, and pulled him into the bouncing and jumping around. It took a little bit, but by the time the long song was winding down, he seemed much more relaxed, and even seemed to be enjoying jumping around and dancing with the girls. If anything, Aisling was even more enthusiastic, hitching a ride from the Count to the top of the speakers so she wouldn't be underfoot while the humans were jumping, then throwing herself into the dance with total abandon, almost falling off several times, while the Count just watched with as bemused an expression as a beak allowed for. As she danced and let herself relax, more and more of the commentary through the day started to play through Megan's mind. The more she let go of the tension of the week, the more readily ideas came. Nothing was concrete yet, but a plan began to form. The jumping song trailed off, then the band opened into Why Is It Monday? What struck Megan was how much trouble she had picturing her mother having ever gotten up into the wild weekends that made waking up and going back to normal life so difficult in the song's lament. Listening to what the song expressed as horrors, she was pretty sure her early 20s mother wouldn't like her current self very much. Of course, thinking of the green pills, Megan admitted that it was hard to say whether her mother currently did like herself much. At the same time, she could hear shades of the same person and personality in the lyrics. She opened up the case, checking through the credits. She somehow wasn't surprised to see her mother's name listed repeatedly. She wrote or helped write almost every song. She played the bass, she sang, she did the cover art photos, she did a lot of the arrangement and sound engineering. Megan considered that, along with the lyrics and what she knew of some of her mother's old contacts. It seemed that even in the days her mother partied hard enough to catch the attention of a fairy king, she was still a hard worker. It was just that, all along the way, the partying had disappeared. When the song ended, she borrowed the remote from Lonnie, pausing, and then shifting backwards. "There's still half the album to go. This is really, really good stuff," Lonnie protested, but didn't try to stop her. "I know, we can listen to all of it. I just wanted to hear the jumping song again. There's something on the tip of my brain, and jumping helps." Lonnie looked confused. Justin looked even more confused, but Aisling was grinning. "That's my girl," the pixie cheered, starting into the dancing before the music even began. And so the tone shifted again, moving away from the workday lament and back into playfully making fun of fluffy pop music and encouraging jumping and bouncing around. Megan didn't hesitate this time, grabbing her friends' hands and leading them through jumping and weaving around the room to music. By the time it ended and they paused the music again, she was thoroughly out of breath, staggering over to flop onto Lonnie's bed. Megan stayed there for a moment, breathing and thinking. She sat up and looked at Lonnie intently. "Get Kasha. I have a plan."